his estate.
This is Liquid Gold. Mikey.
All right, where the swamps are old and the fans are Gators or Seminoles. Welcome back to Liquid Gold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was kind of a tough one, but we'll go with it. Today, very special episode today. Now that we've counted how many episodes we've done, I think we're at 102 now. So episode 102, we are going to go over.
That was my elementary school bus.
All right.
Number 102. Shout out Dot, the driver.
Lucky old 102. I'm your host today, Mike Wolf, along with my co-host,
Kenneth Dedman.
All right, Kenneth. How's your day going today?
That's all right. Dealing with the allergies.
Yeah.
Yeah. My sinuses got me by the nards. Much like climate change has Florida by the nards.
Oh, wow. A very special Florida-centric episode today. We're going to be going over the Swampwater cocktail. One of those just legendary, bizarre 70s, trashy 70s cocktails created by U.S. marketing execs who wanted people in the South, specifically the Southeast, to start drinking more chartreuse. So back in the 70s, they came up with this cocktail called the Swampwater. We're going to talk about it. Pretty fascinating drink. And then we're going to get into the Florida Files. We've got Florida Files is our special segment that we do apart from booze news, because a lot of the booze news that we find in the world and that Kenneth digs up happens to come from Florida. So we had to create a whole special category, the Florida Files. So we've got a big show today, and we have a really special guest today. He was part of our Season 3 Sake season finale, an epic episode that you can go back and check out on liquidgold.show, where you can go back through the archives and see all the shows that we've done.
This is one of our earliest episodes, right?
No, it was Season 3.
Season 3?
Season finale. But it was
how many episodes in? We kind of just make up seasons anyway.
Probably 52. Episode 52.
It was a really good episode, but it was nowhere near the best. So that's just how high a bar you guys set.
That's what you think. His name is Byron Stithem, close but distant cousin of Jason Statham.
He's my dad.
So that we got two. Both have some stubble. Really good-looking men. Can probably kick people's asses. One of them makes sake, one of them makes films.
We both drive fast.
Yeah,
there you
getaway
go.
drivers.
But we've got a lot to talk about with Byron, who recently reopened and opened a new tap room at Proper Saké. He is the Toji with the Koji.
A lot of times that's the case.
Which you're going to have to go back to that Season 3 season finale and find out what that means. But he's basically the man when it comes to making sake in the South.
You know?
Pretty incredible.
I was born to do it. That's my Statham heritage, I guess.
Yeah.
You know? We're born to make sake and commit crimes.
That's what's up. Hell yeah.
So we'll get into his whole new tap room and what he's doing there. He's doing some really amazing cocktails. And there might be a Swampwater riff that we're going to talk about later. Just to give you an idea of what a crazy time period this was. So this was back in the 70s when marketers would come up with cocktails like the Tequila Sunrise was one, the Harvey Wallbanger, which we still haven't really covered, and even you can go back pretty far on the Kamikaze as well. But the Swampwater was a part of that, and it's basically green chartreuse with lime juice and pineapple juice. And maybe a couple other things you can throw in there. We'll get into the recipe later, but this was meant to be batched out by the gallon for people in the Southeast, particularly people partying in Florida colleges. So it was a very interesting time to be marketing cocktails. There was a very masculine bent to a lot of this. It had an alligator mascot on these special mugs that were made. It was like throw a Swampwater party at your house with the Swampwater party kit.
That's great.
And you could purchase that for back then for $4.95. It included 12 branded jars. We should probably get on eBay and see if we can find one. But the heavy-handed marketing with a lot of these ads, they would say things like more bang than a wall banger. And then they would say, they instructed you if you were at a bar and you went over to order one from the bartender, and they would say in the ads, and I quote, if he asks you what the fuck it is, tell him, followed by the recipe. Another quote that I want to say from one of the original Swampwater ads was, quote, do you dare ask a date to your Swampwater party? By all means.
Hell yeah.
Many a match has been made while nipping our naughty nectar. End quote. So
I think that's probably illegal these days.
Yeah. This is a salacious.
I wonder how many sliding glass doors got broken at these Swampwater parties.
What's the over under? Total? Probably 112. Glass
it's all
doors.
A conspiracy by a big glass sliding door.
All right, so we're gonna get into a little bit more of the history, this bizarre 70s cocktail, and we'll get into a recipe a little bit later. But Byron, you've got a lot going on in your world. You're making all this beautiful sake. You've got the Koji Gold.
Still have that.
Yeah, which tell the listeners, tell us about Koji Gold. We know about it, but where can people pick it up? What is it, and why is it so damn delicious?
Man, it has just been chemically formulated to be the most thirst-quenching yet palate-rectifying summer crusher that also crushes in the winter. And that's just all thanks to the magic ingredient we know as Koji. So yeah, you can get that most places around the South at this point. Trader Joe's, Publix, Whole Foods, sometimes Kroger. They don't always play ball, but when they do, it's a place.
I've seen it at Kroger.
Play ball, Kroger. Yeah. Come on, play ball.
Most bodegas in town too,
a lot of bodegas.
Which is like that's big. That's how you get your name out.
I would support going to the bodega anytime you can versus the grocery.
I got a funny story about buying some Koji Gold once over at the four-way next to Lipstick Lounge. This wasn't too long ago.
Your four-way?
No, your
the other
four-way
one.
is
Yeah.
Holly.
Stop.
And
Right. Gotcha. Way to clarify that.
yeah, I was grabbing a four-pack Koji Gold, and it's kind of like muddling around there, and Kevin Antoon from Southern Grist walks in the door, and I was like waving at him. I'm like, hey, and like, and then luckily there's Southern Grist right in front of me. I pointed at it and grabbed that too, like, and checked out.
I like them both.
Yeah.
There's room on the.
I kind of like how it was. Yeah.
Oh man.
It was a. I giggled about it later, but like I don't know, like oddly like stressed, man.
It made you sweat a little bit. Yeah, a little sweating under the collar. So you mentioned it a little bit earlier about how it's one of the things that you use to create flavor, and it's one of your special secret ingredients. But it's not a secret. So tell us, what is Koji? I know you did it on the sake season finale, but it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And that was pre-pandemic, and no one remembers anything pre-pandemic.
It was the pre-period. So Koji can be inoculated onto any number of substrates. For sake, it's rice, but you're essentially inoculating your grain with Aspergillus orzae, and what that does is creates a really cool enzymatic compound that you can use for fermentation. And the culinary world uses it all the time. The beverage world uses it. The Japanese have mastered pretty much every iteration and form of it for all sorts of ferments and whatnot. But it really is a miracle ingredient.
Yeah, people use it to like marinate steaks.
Yeah.
And what do you think it does to a steak when you use it like that?
I think it does what dry aging does in a better way and faster, in a safer environment, because it excludes a lot of things that can spoil just by its nature. Again, as a miracle ingredient.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We sell Koji.
Yeah. You do? You sell it to restaurants around town?
Yeah, just throwing that out there.
Yep.
You know, reach out if you need some Koji.
Cool. And where's the best place to find you online and all that, all the socials?
Our Instagram.
Yeah.
At proper_sake_co. No more underscores.
You got to have the underscores on there.
Yeah, they don't let you not.
Yeah. And you've recently reopened a tap room, and you're in a whole new location now. You've got a new tap room, new brewery operation. Tell us about what's going on in the tap room. Yeah, and people are loving the bar there. So
yeah, it's been a real joy. A much more preferred location for me than the downtown spot, and it's a much larger brewery space, so I'm able to do a lot more things that I've been kind of dreaming about. And then the bar, which is totally separate. We've decided to deem Rice Vice, which being kind of a subsidiary concept to the brewery itself, because I wanted to be able to do cocktails and various ferments unrelated to sake, our beers on tap, but also, a nice place to drink all of our sakes, and we're selling some Japanese sakes as well, which has been really fun. So we can kind of highlight a lot of the breweries that have been so open with their information with me over the years. And most of this sake is not available anywhere else in the Southeast.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing, because if you were at a gin distillery, you're not going to be like walking over to the bar and like tasting a bunch of different gins from all over the world. So that's pretty neat.
I thought so. I mean,
that's kind of the sake.
Do we make less money on the Japanese sake? 100%. But are people going to have a better time? 100%.
And they won't forget.
Yeah,
tasting some of that awesome stuff. What are some of the Japanese ones that you've got right now that you're excited about?
Well, anything I have from Tamagawa, which has been a huge brewery to me over the years, just from an educational standpoint. We try and keep as much of their stuff on as we can. Todorigawa, which some of you may know from the hit documentary film Birth of Sake. They do a lot of sakes in a very similar style that I try and recreate. And Kido Azumi is another one we draw a lot from. But so far, we've been able to bring in 3 or 4 new sakes every week, pretty much. So it's a very evolving list.
Makes sense as like a creator to also show people
celebrate the master,
shit you're into.
Yeah, masters, and they've been doing it for so long.
Yeah,
I've only been doing it just a drop in the bucket.
It's fun. Well, you're doing really well. You've got the Nagore unfiltered, which is incredible.
We do have that.
You've got the Junmai Diplomat.
Yeah.
You haven't been serving the Nagore much?
It makes the glasses so mucky.
Ah.
Yeah. People ask about it. I'm trying to wean them off because we don't have a dishwasher right now.
Okay.
There's other stuff, but also, Nagore's great too.
Yeah, it's great for, you can make like a painkiller with it.
Yeah.
We did that. That was amazing. Let's tell folks like that are new to sake, because we touched on this a little bit years ago, but what's some like general styles? And as people are out at the liquor stores and buying things at bottle shops, what are some styles and words that people should be looking for if they like dry versus sweet, filtered versus unfiltered?
Yeah, those are all good points to measure. Usually a jumping off point for us is that we highlight Yamaha and Kimoto styles, which are going to be on the older record of styles. So they're tending to be more complex, a little more umami forward, and typically a little less fussed with in the back end processes. So it's a bit more raw. Outside of that, if you're looking for something a little more refined, you're going to want to lean towards the Ginjo and Daiginjo styles, which means the rice is going to be polished a little further. Outside of that, if you're looking for a dryness versus sweeter component, there's usually an SMV level listed on the sake, and anything kind of in the middle is kind of irrelevant. It could come off as sweet, it could read as dry. Unless you get over say +10, it's going to be almost to a T. It's going to be dry. Anything below -10, you can expect to be pretty sweet.
Very cool.
Word up. That's good. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, let's before we get into the full-on Florida files, let's get back to why this drink has endured. Wouldn't you say Green Chartreuse over the last 10 years has become definitely, it started as like you need to use this in cocktails. This is really fun to use in like a Manhattan. It's really fun to sneak a little bit into a daiquiri. Sneak a little bit into a gimlet. And then you saw bartenders starting to shoot chartreuse during the shift instead of Fernet, which is dangerous. That's a dangerous game. I remember people putting it.
Speedy.
Shout out Speedy, yeah. I I remember people putting it in water guns and going around the bar and squirting water guns of chartreuse into people's mouth.
Wow.
That was a thing. So if the thing is the Swampwater cocktail would have never been created if it was, 10 years ago. But back in the 70s, no one was drinking chartreuse. It was sitting there on the shelves. Bars weren't making cocktails with it. You had the era. There's a great Punch article about this called Chartreuse Had Its Very Own Party Drink, written by Al Coulaton. He's got a great article about this, talking about some of the history. So the drinks of this era, let's go through a few of the drinks that were popular in the 70s, and this is what the marketing folks with chartreuse were trying to kind of attach themselves onto. You had the Harvey Wallbanger, which was that big Galliano cocktail, which is, I think there's some people who like it, but I'm always surprised when people say they like it. It's really kind of strange. Galliano and orange juice, essentially. Then you've got the Tequila Sunrise, which we always tell people go back and listen to the Shots episode of Tequila Sunrise that we did, where we tied in the theme of the movie to the cocktail. That was fun. And then, as they quote New Orleans legend Chris Hanna in this article, you had drinks called the Goombay Smash, Rum Runner, the Bushwhacker, and the Bahama Mama. And so the Swampwater was really just trying to emulate this style of easy drinking, fun, party drink, and they wanted folks to batch this by the gallon. And what's amazing about the name the Swampwater is they were focused on that color, that green color, which they accentuate with the lime juice and the pineapple juice, but also they were really trying to market this to the Southeast and trying to get into that Florida frat party, college party scene. So some of the recipes that they would give out were just huge because you were supposed to be making them with for a party. You ever had anyone ask you for a Swampwater?
No.
I have. It was probably 7 years ago. And I remember thinking, oh, yeah, I remember because we used to blend them at Holland House every once in a while. We'd mess around and blend some of the old rum runners or some of those 70s cocktails. And so we did blend them on occasion, but that was a long time ago, maybe 10 years ago. But you don't hear it a whole lot. But I think that this could be a good, if you're looking for like a conversation piece and a late summer barbecue cocktail, I think this could be a good one to trot out. Okay, so let's find or let's give like just a decent, simple recipe for the Swampwater. All right, so you could do what you're doing is being really strange by using green chartreuse as the main spirit in your drink, which is a good way to be strange. We're not going to hate on it. So 2 to 2.5 ounces of green chartreuse, maybe 1 ounce of pineapple juice. I'd say 1/2 to 3/4 ounce of lime juice. And some folks like to splash in a little bit of rum, but then you could use, say, 2 cups. Yeah, I'd say about 2 cups of crushed ice and do all that up in a blender and then pour it into a jar and maybe garnish it with a little bit of mint. Delicious. Mm-hmm. Delicious, herbaceous, summery, but also maybe hinting towards the holidays, maybe a little bit. So that's the Swampwater. And you seem to have been inspired by it recently, and you're going to be doing a take on it over at the Rice Vice. So tell us first what you're doing with the highballs there, because you're kind of focusing on highballs and making really good, thoughtful highballs. So tell us about that before we get into your riff on the Swampwater.
Well, yeah. Another component of a cool Japanese adjacent bar is typically that there's some element of highball. And so we are in the vein of folks who try and get everything as cold as possible. So we got the icy mugs, the special ice, and then we've been making our own bubble water, which has been an ongoing project to see just how many PSIs we can get into that water.
Oh man, that's exciting.
Yeah.
What's that situation like? You got a carbonizer?
Yeah.
Situation?
I do.
That's great.
But I've broken a lot of CO2 regulators so far because they're not intended to crank up quite as high.
How high are you going? And this is something that we've talked about on the show and we're passionate about.
Yeah.
Having really high PSI sparkling water like they did back in the 1880s, 1890s, people got hooked on soda water because it had that spice to it.
Yeah.
They couldn't experience that feeling of life coursing through their nostrils. So how high are you going?
So I'm taking the regulators up to 60. That's where most of these pressure relief valves keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm probably on my 6th CO2 regulator.
Okay.
Because you just got to get up to the edge, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
You're all about finding the edge there.
I find the edge. I usually step over into the abyss, but on this occasion, that's
God
what the
bless
pressure
you.
relief valve is for.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the whole point is to try and replicate the highball machines that Suntory makes,
Mhm.
which I don't know how they do it. It's their IP, of course, but the whole point too is that we get some salinity into the water, like our friends over at Topo Chico there,
Mm-hmm.
and we actually have the same water composition as we use for our sake.
Oh, cool.
So it's got some of the same minerals in it that
Mhm.
make the sake hopefully taste good and
Mhm.
brew well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just crank that PSI up and
That's
then add it to whatever your base ingredient is, and you got a highball.
Excellent. Do you think you'll ever get in the 80s or 90s?
Man, I'm going to need some new equipment.
Mm.
So hit me up if you know where I can get that high pressure situation set up.
Hmm.
Let me throw
I
it
would
out.
love to see you get into the 80s or 90s and just like, that would be, I mean, people would run wild.
Tight bubbles.
Killer.
It's something or it's nothing, you know?
So you have a set amount of salt that you're adding. Is it like kosher salt? Are you doing Maldon? What kind of salt are we talking?
It's seaweed salt from Japan.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool stuff. They derive it from kombu that they soak and then dehydrate and all that.
Amazing.
It's wonderful.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us about your Swampwater highball.
So the origin story for this is really that I made something akin to Green Chartreuse out of some sake distillate that we'd been working on, and was just trying to make a real difficult cocktail, something that was going to make people, upset. And I did. I succeeded.
Mm-hmm.
And so after we reached that mountain,
Do you still have that recipe? Because I want to try. I want to try the bitter mountain, the bitter cliff, whatever we're gonna call it.
Yeah.
Do you still have the recipe? Like if
Yeah.
I wanted it,
100%.
Okay.
Kinsey and I really enjoyed it, so we kept it on a little longer than we should have. But of course, then we had all of this leftover distillate, and that's when this Punch article came out and reminded me about this much more approachable and also just, hooliganish cocktail.
Mm-hmm.
So we took our Green Chartreuse clone. I started brewing a sake that the yeast profile actually kicks off ethyl hexanate, which is the same chemical compound as pineapple. Just to,
Neato.
add a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And then, fresh pineapple puree and a shit ton of lime.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Damn.
And then the bubble water.
The aforementioned intense bubble water.
That's right.
Damn, that sounds good. Is that
Sounds-
debuted yet at the tap room?
It's on.
Amazing.
Starting last week. So
Excellent. So
Crushable.
until people say no.
excellent. So that I feel like the Swampwater is. That's why we're doing it right now. I feel like it is great for this time of year.
Truly.
Because we had a little bit of a chill in the morning today. It's gotten a little bit more manageable, I'd say, at night, but it's still going to be 90 degrees during the day
Yeah.
for the foreseeable future, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
So great time to get into the Swampwater.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Some might call it a state. Some might call it a state of mind. Some might call it an ethos. Some might call it a country. Others know it as a state. We're talking about Florida. Gator. Welcome to the Florida Files. I thought that went pretty well. All right, Kenneth, we're going to do a Florida Files focused booze news today. How traumatizing was it for you to do the prep for this show? Because I only looked at a few stories and it got dark.
I'm glad you went ahead and brought it up because I was gonna say something. It's like news about Florida kind of just trickles in all the time, and I mean someone else is out there filtering through it. But when you're going out to look for specific or not specific,
non-specific.
well, we'll just say like anything interesting, amusing about news in Florida, you have to read about like a shitload of violent crime and sexual assault, and
it gets dark pretty quickly.
Yeah. So
you get down to story
you can't
number 8.
unsee this.
Mm-hmm.
My advice to most people is like, like there's websites. There's literally websites out there that kind of filter it all out for you.
Or
There's the Florida Man Twitter.
As a palate cleanser, just maybe search Vermont news after that.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I think you can also like be playful. Here's what I would suggest. If you don't want to go to the dark side of Florida news, be playful with your search. Like beach bum, beer, Florida. Beach towel mishap, Florida. Man slips and falls, Florida. But if you're just like Florida man does something bad or drunk Florida, it can get bad. Anyway,
what's wild about it is you get an hourly report depending on your search engine when you put in these Florida searches. It could take you like 20 minutes to get to yesterday's news.
Yeah, and your algorithm now is just fucked.
Oh, dude, my YouTube one is kind of has that too. Like, because I have it on like what do you call it, like autoplay or whatever. So if I fall asleep watching some science stuff, like black hole stuff, I'll wake up like an hour or two later and someone's talking about
You're in the basement.
Beheading in Miami or some shit. Like, oh God. I was dreaming about that. Well, you want to start with a statistic? We'll start with a statistic, like something cool I found in the back.
Yeah, we've even got the beep, back it up, back it up. We've even got the back it up out in the background. FedEx truck out here.
All right, accidental shootings in Florida went up 90% from 2007 to 2017.
How many percent?
90%. It's the state you're most likely to accidentally be shot.
Okay. Wow. Swamp waters all around.
On the house.
All right. Florida woman tried to get out of a DUI by Irish dancing.
Oh, wow.
There's video for this, so be sure you get a look at it. It's super, super entertaining. Pinellas County deputies pulled over a 38-year-old blah, blah, blah after she had wrecked her car. During a field sobriety test while walking a straight line, said lady ridiculed police officers and started doing ballet and Irish river dance moves, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. The video's it's great. It's great. You want to back me up there with one?
Okay, I got one.
You can find plenty of DUIs there, but like because we're a drinking podcast, I usually try to avoid those.
You're gonna want a river dance.
I don't know why it's not a swamp dance down there. Can we just call it the swamp dance? Speaking of swamp dancing,
not drunk. Look at this.
Florida woman arrested for allegedly twerking on teen at Christian school prom. This was a woman who was a former teacher at the school. I think she was just playing escort at the dance or so. But she was arrested after an investigator spoke to an 18-year-old who said the suspect encouraged him to drink alcohol and rubbed her body against him when he was a 17-year-old at the Point of Grace Christian School's prom, and pressured him to drink alcoholic beverages multiple times from a straw. So that's trouble, because that's going to go down really fast. And then began twerking on him, which NBC News notes rubbing her buttocks on him. So we got some clarification on the twerk.
Needed some clarification. That's wonderful. That's just good journalism.
Yeah. So there's that one, and then what do you got?
Byron, you want to do one?
I did dig up a little something.
You got one, Byron? All right. Byron joining the Florida Files.
Pretty incredible case here. We got a man who stole a forklift and drove it through a liquor store, destroying $100,000 worth of materials.
Whoa.
And told the police that he was Alice in Wonderland and a hookah-smoking caterpillar had ordered him to attack the site.
Amazing.
That checks out. That checks out story.
That was
story
book worthy. That could have gone in the book if we had known about that.
apparently when the police showed up too, he charged them with said forklift until they were able to pull him from the machinery.
That's what's up.
Incredible.
They're like, don't shoot this guy.
Yeah.
We need to talk to him.
Yeah.
He just destroyed.
He knows something we don't.
Yeah.
No lawyer is listed for this man. Yeah.
Well.
He's unrepresented right now. So if you're out there.
It's one of those outdoor forklifts, I imagine, with the big wheels. Like, actually, those are a lot more dangerous than you think.
I'm sure.
Super heavy, of course, to counterweight like a pallet of liquid. Two pallets with $100,000. I think a pallet of like Jack Daniels is like $50,000.
It wouldn't take long to do that much damage in a pretty big liquor store.
Yeah,
So.
I think you could do that in under 30 seconds if you get your aim right.
Yeah, and if you get over to like the bourbon section, maybe. It's Pappy Van Winkle. I'm taking this down.
All right, naked Florida man crawls through Taco Bell drive-through.
Wow. It's always one.
33-year-old in St. Petersburg crawled through the drive-through completely naked. Police showed up and found him laying on the floor. He was arrested shortly after, and this is interesting, on a charge of exposure of sexual organs. That was the language used, and that kind of struck me. I was like, why wouldn't they say, like just naked? What do you public indecent exposure or something like that?
Yeah.
But it led me to believe he had a boner because like
he was using his organs.
All right, like we won't like dwell on penises here, but like if they're going to use that language like sexual, then it means like it was, like we'll see like the penis is one of two uses,
Yeah.
Like if he was peeing if he was laying there peeing on the floor, like it would have been like public urination as well by using his urination organ.
Yep.
Yeah.
Huh. So it's like you got to have it if it's in the holster kind of thing.
Yeah. I also, while doing some recon here, well, I should say my buddy Chip Hensley, he's a real data and research man. He was throwing stuff at me right and left.
Shout out Chip.
Shout out
What
Chip.
up, Chip? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Producer Chip.
He also sent over another pretty slick story about a gentleman who was driving through toll booths without any pants on.
That's amazing. I think like
It's hot down there.
It's hot.
Huh.
I think like a really good. That's probably a good like search. What do you call it? Search term or whatever.
Yeah.
Do like
that you don't want to do.
naked Florida man,
Pantsless man.
or pantsless.
Yeah.
Or
Naked Florida.
Naked Florida.
but yeah, there's all kinds
Be a
of.
good like Florida. It's like a tanning booth business, but it's like Google News us for some entertainment.
Yeah.
And come by for a 2-for-1 special on Mondays.
Well, like naked Florida man bites canine, punches and spits on deputies.
Wow. I feel like that's a Hall of Famer, like from an old show.
It's
Have
a
you
big
talked
one.
about that one before?
No.
Okay.
No.
It's just something close, probably.
That's another thing that I noticed was like in in the pain, the trauma of like you're hitting like 9 murders per one funny thing sometimes if you're lucky.
You never know with the Florida Files.
Well there's no like you just don't run out of them. Like I watched like a YouTube of some dude that like broke some down that I didn't use today, and I was like, like there's always similar stories when someone's like, yeah, this dude in Florida like was riding on a tractor trailer down the interstate on the front of it, and I was like, I heard that one. He's like, no, it's a new one. Like, all right, Florida man breaks into home, sucks on sleeping man's toes.
Whoa. I like that one. That's kind of wholesome.
Man.
Compared to some of the other ones.
For Florida, that's wholesome.
Yeah, that's like, can I get you a Swampwater? Stop sucking my toes.
Keep going. We can keep going, man. Shoplifting Florida man flees store, strips naked as steaks fall out of his pants.
Yeah, whoops. Shouldn't have stripped
Easy,
once you
man.
stole the steaks.
This is all this year. Florida man sets hospital bed on fire to get nurses' attention. Florida man calls 911 multiple times asking deputies to bring him ice cream and Jack Daniels.
That's a good one.
There's a lot of like weird like 911 shit too. Like people like get wasted and start calling 911 for like a ride home or like to get another number.
You gotta
or
call
like,
the non-emergency line, guys.
Yeah.
You're clogging the lines.
Go ahead and call the cops, but just call the different number. You're right. That's a good point, Byron.
They'll get you what you need.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, call them up and be like, "Can I get a ride and some Taco Bell? Is that too much to ask? I pay taxes."
Naked Florida man spends 24 hours vandalizing school, all on video. On the
Jeez,
over the
that's
weekend.
exhausting.
that's commitment.
Yeah. It's like, am I tired yet? Nah, I got a couple more hours.
I've done too much meth to be tired.
Right.
There's always a dude driving a lawnmower on a street that's like got like a 50 or plus speed limit.
It's a hallmark.
Yeah, the lawnmowers in public traffic ways, like Florida just dominates the market there.
Shout out to George Jones. And one time on his birthday, I drove my John Deere that I had at the time that I don't have anymore.
I'm sorry, dude. What happened?
Drove it down to the gas station to buy beer on George Jones' birthday one time just to celebrate, because that was one of his legendary moments here in Nashville.
That was a thing. Like he did it like he got in trouble for it, but he did it a lot. Like
he was a spokesman for Quicksack, which we could throw a shout out. The Quicksack in Inglewood. They've got a lot of great beer. Do they have your beer there? I feel like they do.
I hope so.
Yeah, they've got some great beer.
Where's that Quicksack?
Gallatin by the Captain D's.
Oh, word. Yeah. Oh, with the taco stand.
Yeah. Oh, man. Amazing taco place. Yes.
That's the one. Holy crap. Okay.
Good stuff.
Here's
Good stuff.
Similar one. You know, like how I was talking about this naked Florida man breaks into school, smears feces and cake frosting everywhere.
Jeez. Two
Holy
naked dudes
man.
getting into schools? Man.
Dude, it's you can find so many similar stuff.
But also with the diversion there, it's like, come in tomorrow and play a little game of is it poop or is it frosting, you know?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Use all your senses. They teach the kids at school about using your senses.
Yeah.
I hope
You touch,
like a
you
school,
smell.
like a school for the blind.
Oh, man.
This sounds like Montessori stuff, right?
Yeah, it's experiential.
That's all this is.
380-pound Florida man hides meth in belly button. Most of this is Tampa too. Like,
Well, that goes without saying.
The Tampa Tales.
I've seen some fucked up shit in Tampa.
We're gonna
I
have to have
spent
another
so
segment.
much time down there. Almost every St. Patrick's Day for 10 years for sure, with other visits. I remember one time, like always driving down there, flew a couple of times. One time I was walking from the skate park to the hotel. It was like a half a mile. It's kind of in the hood, still is. And this dude in a Cadillac pulls up. He's like, "Yo, what up? You want to buy some weed?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" I didn't bring any, or I didn't bring enough. And he's like, "All right." And then he pulls out this huge ass bag of cocaine. And I was like, "That's not weed. I gotta get out of here." Like, fucking.
And you got into the car, and then he spent the night with the guy, and you don't want to tell us what happened.
Oh man,
It's too long of a story. I get it.
It's its own podcast.
All right, you got any more?
yeah.
We're about out of time. Let me rephrase that. What else you got?
Florida man found sitting on family's roof in his underwear. Has no idea how he got there.
It's called Swampwater.
Dude, like
Swampwater.
Swampwater again.
Yeah, there's always a Florida dude with an alligator. Usually they're like pouring beer on him or trying to get him drunk. Always.
Lesson being, if you live in Florida near alligators, you need to have a large cast iron pan. Have you seen that video?
Mm-mm.
That's what. There's a older gentleman, and there's a crocodile or alligator. It looked like a crocodile. It was enormous, coming right at him, and he had this huge cast iron pan, and he just bops the thing on the head, and it just like stops, and is like, maybe I shouldn't do this, and backs up. So, if you're down in Florida and you're worried about alligators, crocodiles, dinosaurs, whatever, large lizards, look to the cast iron.
I've got one story about lizards that came up last night too. We reached out to a Florida friend of ours, and she said that when they were growing up, her dad would give them $20 for every invasive lizard that they were able to smash with a brick. So they just kept stacks of bricks around the house, smashing invasive lizards.
It really seems like just
My
living.
first job. It's like
You can make a living.
for like a couple of years on your applications. It's like still like, you know, like you haven't had 3 jobs yet, so it's still listed on your job application.
Sometimes just living down in Florida seems to be hazardous. You know, there's like a hazardous, dangerous element to it.
Hang on.
But there are parts of Florida that I love, I will say. I got some love for some parts of Florida.
I imagine some more
Mm.
dude that's hiring someone, maybe at like the fast food place. He's looking at it. He's like, smashing lizards, huh? Are you good at it?
Hobbies, smashing lizards for money.
This is probably a bonus if you're making those smashy burgers, but if it's somewhere that's doing the full-size burgers, so you don't need that.
Yeah, you could, well, I mean, you could do some smashed iguana burgers, probably.
Yeah.
They're probably doing that down South Florida.
Yeah.
That was
Pair it with the Swampwater, done. Iguana burger, Swampwater, done.
first time in Miami, driving down from
Here we
like
go.
Palm
First
Springs.
time in Miami.
No, it was I saw like the first memory I have of driving into the town. Car in front of me ran over this pretty big iguana, and just like, I was like, oh man, is that how it is? I gotta watch iguanas die all day. But like my buddy that was driving was like, yeah, all of it, it's nonstop, like, all the time. Florida man breaks into home, cooks breakfast, tells owner to go back to sleep.
Go back to sleep. I got the eggs. It'll be ready in 20.
Florida man arrested for giving aggressive wet willy.
Whoa, wow. That would, that's tough. That would hurt.
Florida man kicked out of bar, picking 2 fights, claiming he's Mick Jagger.
Damn.
Can we confirm or deny
Good
that
stuff.
it wasn't? You know?
I'll show you his picture here in a sec. It's it's great.
Is that
It's
supposed to be
kinda
Mick
like,
Jagger? The Florida man that claims he's Mick Jagger.
It's not that bad looking as far as he looks like a Florida Mick Jagger. Like
That's what Mick Jagger would look like if he lived in Florida.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
So I
incredible.
think he's right.
Yeah.
Really. I can't argue
He
with him.
deserves that.
Yeah.
all these people are destined for some jail time, but which reminded me of one fact. It's that Florida state prisons have the highest instance of food poisoning in this country.
Wow. Wonder why that is.
It's Florida
Swampwater?
fucking crazy. Did y'all hear about that Doomsday Glacier in Antarctica this week that like they're saying is barely hanging on?
Yeah.
One of the parts of the article, I had to read it because like I wanted to get more depressed, was like they compared it to the size of Florida.
Damn. That's enormous.
Which is like exactly, I mean, what'll happen, I guess is what they're saying, is if it breaks off, Florida's gone. It's destined
It's
to
incredible.
Damn.
I mean,
sink.
awful, but incredible. Yeah.
what are your days and hours over there at Rice Vice?
Yeah, and I want to give
Thank
the
you
listeners,
for asking.
they're at 3109 Ambrose Avenue.
Yeah, east side, kind of between Ellington and Gallatin off of Trinity.
Yeah,
We
Ellington
are
and
open
Trinity Lane,
Wednesday
you're
through
right there.
Sunday.
Incredibly accessible, Ellington.
You couldn't get
That's
there
beautiful.
any easier.
What is
Yeah.
it?
Where do you
Sorry,
want to
tell
come
us.
from?
Yeah, sorry. Tell us the hours again.
Wednesday through Sunday. We open at 4 on the weekdays and 1 on the weekends.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good day drinking spot on a Saturday. Damn.
That's my thought. We also
Sunday?
play records, if you like records.
Incredible. Well, congrats on the new bar and the new tap room
Thanks,
and new
fellas.
all that stuff.
Hell yeah, brother.
Thanks for coming by. We always love talking to the Toji with the Koji. Byron Stithem,
Statham.
related to Jason
Related
Statham.
to Jason Statham.
Both are action superheroes.
What the fuck are you doing here?
What do you think he knows about Koji? Probably jack shit.
Probably about nothing.
Jason Statham, come at us.
He's like, nah, he'd know about it. He'd be like, yeah, I like brown rice. I like
Alpha, beta, amylase?
brown
Yeah, of
rice.
course.
All right, my name's Mike Wolf. It has been a pleasure. There's a plane landing outside. Do check us out at liquidgold.show. Follow us on Instagram at liquidgold_pod. Look for the book coming soon, November 15th, release date. And we've got the pre-order link at turnerpublishing.com for Cheer, the Liquid Gold Holiday Drinking Guide. It's a beast of a book. Tons of content. It'll take you from September all the way through January with a ton of different drink ideas, party drinks, batch drinks. We didn't get a Swampwater drink in there, but that's why we do the podcast, so that we can do all the things that don't make it into the books.
Hell yeah.
Kenneth, always a pleasure.
It's my pleasure, Mike.
Who knows where we go next?
Byron, my pleasure. My pleasure.
My pleasure.
Making Nashville more delicious by the day. Don't forget about Koji Gold. Don't forget about Proper Saké's sakes. Shout out to Kinsey. We missed you this time. We'll have to get you back next time
Kinsey.
when we talk sake. And if you're curious about all things sake, go back to our sake season finale back from, I think it was 2019. As always, thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time right here on Liquid Gold.
Later, Tater.